It's always a story of kings and queens, as I find myself very, very blurry to start things off with proceedings here today. We are in a wonderful moment as far as racing goes, because we are just 2 rounds away from the end of the season here with your Lotus 79 series. On top of that, we sit with a championship, 101 points the margin, and it could all be decided here today. Welcome to Racing Action. We head ourselves here to the Red Bull Ring, one of the biggest high-speed thrill rides. It's a blurry Jake Sperry. It's Alex Goldschmidt along for the ride. And Alex, when it comes to the Red Bull Ring, this is one of the few circuits in the world. Monza is maybe the only comparison of high speed and heavy braking.
Yes, Jake. Hello, everybody. But more to the point, in comparison with Monza, which is pretty much as flat as a pancake, let's be completely honest with you, you've got this roller coaster ride round through the Styrian countryside, all the way up from the Niki Lauda corner at turn 1, right up through the Munster turn at turn 2, which is effectively a left-hand kink. But then you've got that high, heavy braking zone into turn 3, where things can go wrong at a moment's notice. Then you've got all the way down the hill through at Hull at turn 4. And then you've got to go through Graz at turn 7 before Jochen at 9. But you've got to make it nice and neat and tidy through that final double right-hander complex. Don't go too wide coming out of the final corner to make a lap really, really clean here in Austria.
And the best way to get a clean lap is to have an understanding of what this lap is all about, which you can do right now with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to the Red Bull Ring. Located near Spielberg, Austria, this track began life in a much more fast and sweeping format. Having gone through multiple different owners, it eventually was snatched up by Red Bull and has its 3 different layouts you see today. While they range roughly between 1 to 2.5 miles in length, the thing they hold in common are fast straights, hard braking zones, and very few corners. In fact, the longest and most common layout, the Grand Prix course, has only 9 of them. Spots like Rebus and Gosser are the most popular corners for overtakes, but both involve dramatic elevation changes. Each have their perils. Remus tends to see drivers make contact when the blind cutback often goes wrong, whereas Gosser tempts you into braking far too late, and the downhill nature shoots cars miserably into the gravel. A few swift bends still scatter the track, with turns like Lauda, Rent, or A1 really testing a driver's accuracy at high speeds. However, most of them don't send you off into the grass. Rather, there is a lot of paved runoff. But they often include some nasty curves most cars will want to avoid hitting, as they've been known to damage suspension and undertrays. A variety of types of racing compete here, with everything from lower Formula open-wheelers to motorcycles, touring cars, and all the way up to Formula 1 holding events regularly. Set among the gorgeously picturesque Alps, and including great racing on a challenging and history-rich circuit, it's easy to see why fans and drivers are both eager every time they come for a race.
The Red Bull Ring is a circuit that brings so many drivers a great opportunity to say, I can be better than someone else. In some ways, it's a lot easier than most circuits, but in other ways, a lot more difficult. Turn 1, Niki Lauda, Alex, might be the toughest corner, the toughest opening corner in all of racing.
Yeah, it's basically you go uphill on the power, hard on the brakes. You've got to turn it at a 90-degree angle to rotate it around the corner. You've got to be very, very careful of going off of track limits, and also the infamous sausage curve towards the outside as well, because that could really unsettle the back of these cars very, very quickly and put you either into a spin or into the wall. And then it's up to turn 3. You know, they're going to be accelerating at over 290, 300 kilometers an hour before hard on the brakes, and it's an even more obtuse angle going through into 3 before you start going down the hill into Hull at turn 4. And then you get the technical part of the circuit, but even that is fast and flowing. But it's a very, very short lap here at the Red Bull Ring, so you've got to put all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together to get it all right on the day.
You certainly do. Only 2 left-hand corners on the entire track. 3, actually, if you count turn 2, the Munster turn, as a left-hand bend, but that is flat out. But this has been a championship that when you've put it on paper, it has been up and down and all around. But a maiden title awaits James Barry out there overall. He just needs to outscore Togo Hisada today by 25 championship points, and it's going to be all confirmed for what is needed here with Silverstone, the final round on the horizon. Journo Freaksha finds himself a comfortable third with Kartik Pai in fourth position. Dylan Freckleton behind him with Daniel Gallus. That's going to be a great scrap in the championship, 5th and 6th, as well as the rest of the top 10. Mickey Friesen, Gabri Martinez, Taylor Lane, and Shadi Ahmad. Lane and Ahmad split by just 1 championship point between them. But there is also the F2 standings for those who have a little bit less iRating than those at the top. Gord Janot in control, but not by much.
Yeah, just a solitary 2 points ahead of Keith Herner. You've also got to factor in Simon Steinbild and Matthew Cockham in this battle, along with Barry West, who rounds out the top 5. They're split by just 51 points coming into this penultimate round of the season. Connor Levy, Kurt Clapper, Shervin Samari, Alec Klessig, and Cristiano Correni also have an opportunity to still be in the fight going to Silverstone in just 1 week's time.
They're all there. They're all looking to try and put a championship on the board as far as the teams go, because there is a teams championship. Team Essex Lotus in control of that with Journo Freaksha and Jay Walsh. Then a Keep Renault Elf in second. They've got then the Albilad Williams Racing Team third. The team of Jean-Francois Boscos and Yanni Lehmann to keep an eye on that, as Candy Team Tyrrell are fourth, and the Marlboro McLaren team of the two Herners is in fifth. You've got the Scuderia Ferrari in sixth with a Keep Ligier Gitanes in 7th, Unipart Racing Team Ensign in 8th, ahead of ATS and Jib Racing, making up the top 10, the team of Ben Summers and Michael Taylor. So they will be looking to try and prove that they've got what it takes to go out there and attack with all that they have. But if you're here for the first time, we say it a lot, if you're here for the first time, well, what are we racing? What is the understanding of how they've got to go about it today? It's as simple as 27 very fraught and frenetic laps here at round 11 of 12.
Yeah, with these cars, you've got the open setups. There's no spare car, so if you're in the wall, you've got to wheel off that wagon, you are out of the race, and that's it, game over. Drive-through penalties at 17x, disqualification at 25x on the iRacing server, and it is going to be very, very tight for these drivers. As I said earlier, Jake, they've got to put it all together. You know, the jigsaw puzzle doesn't come together on its own.
It doesn't, and Rome is certainly not built in a day. It's built over the course of a season, but it can topple very quickly if you get 25 instant points and find yourself disqualified from racing action out there, as drivers are looking at their first and second laps here as we take a look at what is a pretty overcast valley here and beneath the Styrian Mountains, as Pepe Fuentes is currently fastest overall. That a 118.9, first driver to break the barrier down, will certainly be looking to try and say this is what is capable. Togo Hisada effectively last 2 rounds running into dramas with incidents. That is good enough to go to pole, and by almost 0.2 of a second. That is a seismic statement to say I am not down and out yet.
Yeah, I think that's given a warning shot to James Barry, who currently rounds out the top 3. Here's Gunnar Fritsch, currently running P5 at the moment on a best effort of a 1:19.461. He's making his way down towards Jochen Rindt here at turn 9. You can see the car trying to snake a little bit on the back axle through on the braking side of things, but he's going to power out of the final corner on that lovely Essex old school livery. He powers towards the line and he goes across it. And that is a 1:19.056. Puts him on the inside of the second row alongside James Barry. So it's game on here in qualifying.
It absolutely is. We've got the likes of Dylan Freckleton, for example, out there on circuit trying to finish off a second lap. He's someone who's normally a lot higher. This is a very heavy strength of field today. 36 drivers all looking to try and put their best times on the board. It's split as well for reference too. So Freckleton looking to move out of the mid-pack, and a 1:19.6 will do just that. That's good enough for the 4th row. In 7th position, Daniel Gallus as well, crossing the line. The only other car out there on a lap, I believe, is Martin Reisman here on the final laps. So Reisman here trying to find something, hasn't yet set a time, so any improvement will be good enough to jump at least 3 spaces.
Yeah, he's had about 3 or 4 off tracks as Martin at the moment, so hopefully he can put this lap together. But then also you look at some drivers that could really upset the apple cart come the overall side of things. Jack David Spickett, Henry Morse, who we saw in action yesterday with the Lotus 49s. They are currently 5th and 6th, respectively. So they could give James Barry a bit of a fright as well, along with a few other drivers, such as Shady Ahmad, Karthik Pai rounding out the top 9, Mickey Friesen completing the top 10, covered by just over 9.5 tenths of a second. As Leisman puts the pedal to the metal across the line, he will go very, very shortly. And it's going to be a 1:20.095. That's good to put him up the order to 19th on the grid.
That's what you call mid-pack, and qualifying finds itself completed, and the field then is set and ready at the Red Bull Ring. The grid looks as follows. Togo Hisada has still championship aspirations. The Japanese sensation is on pole on a 1:18.805. Pepe Fuentes will be alongside him for company, as Jerno Frietscher and James Barry, the championship leader, will be in 4th position. It's then Jack David Spickett and Henry Morse 5th and 6th. Dylan Freckleton leads Shadi Ahmad, with Kartik Pai in 9th, and Mickey Friesen rounding out your top 10.
Then we head over the page, and on row 6 it's Gabri Martinez and Carlos Pelotara, with Aaron Blair and Hans Sommer rounding out row 7. Hannah Fechner and Xavier Sanchez on row 8, with Diego Ortiz and Pablo Rodriguez Joglar, Martin Reisman and Javier Mosquera rounding out your top 20.
Bjorn Ackermann makes up the 21st position, and 2 little ducks for Ricardo Ruiz there as he goes through. Adrian Anton Garcia will be 23rd, with Kurt Clapper in 24th, with Jean-Francois Boscus, the F2 championship leader, and Pablo Arteaga on row 13. Matthew Cockerham's 27th, and well out of position is Taylor Lane down in 28th, with Diego Tineo in 29th and Daniel Gallis in 30th. Just the 3 rows behind that, everyone's favourite Barry West in 31st. Guillermo Martin Gonzalez Diaz is 32nd, with Mauro Micheletti in 33rd. David Rodriguez didn't set a time, neither did Jason Clapper, who loves to start from the back, and Gerard Boldu with work to do from 36th position. It is such a large grid here today at 36. They use every single slot that is painted on the grid today for them, and with just 15 seconds before they get themselves into racing mode, Hisada's critically got a gap, but he will need a bit of misfortune from James Barry in order to start scything down the opposition. He knows how critical it is to win. He's in must-win mode, but it's about how do you hold yourself steady as the green flag drops and 27 laps worth of racing gets underway. Pepe Fuentes with a shocker of a start. 1 car in the grass about 10, 11 rows back as they run into turn 1. The funnel that goes through here. 1 car gets pushed off. That's Jack David Spickett, who's able to fall back into 5th position. A mad scramble as they now descend down the hill for the first time, but no dramas for Togo Hisada, who leads his field outright.
Yeah, Pepe Fuentes has just got through on James Barry as Jack David Spickett trying to go round the outside at turn 3. However, Barry able to hold station in 4th at the moment. It's side by side. I think between Gabri Martinez and Henry Morse a little bit further back. Henry Morse leading the overall classification in the Lotus 49s. But Togo Hisada got the whole shot, and he's leading Gunnar Fritzsche by about 4 tenths of a second as they go down the hill for the first time. This is where it gets a little bit technical, but you've still got to carry that momentum through. It's 2, 3 wide at places. There's a little bit of kick up of dust by Gunnar Fritzsche coming down into Graz. And now into turn 8 they're going to go. They're going to skirt with the gravel on the right-hand side of the circuit. And then another application, hard on the throttle and full in top gear, down the hill into turn 9 at a great rate of speed.
It's getting busy. 3 wide in the back as they go through. Carlos Peralta, they're all going to spin. Hannah Fechner just about avoids everything there. More hits. They go through. Another car goes spearing off then, and that's going to be Fechner who finds all the dramas there. But that is as dramatic as it gets. They push 3 wide with Peralta in towards that section, and Sommer now finding himself side by side then as he looks to drive against Aaron Blair. Aaron looking to get that drive down the hill, but a crazy start to the race, and look at it, almost 3 wide for second. James Barry throws one up the inside, and Jerno Frietscher has to leave the room. It's going to be fast here at the Red Bull Ring, and here comes Pepsi man Jack David Spickett down the inside looking for Rauch.
Yeah, however, Togo Hisada has got a 1.8 second advantage, and we're not even halfway through the second lap out of 27. So this is where Barry's got to pick his moments. As a little bit further back, we see the likes of Karthik Pai battling away with Mickey Frierson et al. And Karthik Pai gets passed through on Dylan Freckleton. So Freckleton down to 9th ahead of Mickey Frierson, Shady Ahmad, Hans Sommer, Aaron J. Blair. The gaps are absolutely nothing at the moment in this early stages. These drivers are absolutely pushing. It's a fast average speed around the lap here at the Red Bull Ring. As once again, we ride on board with Mickey Frierson in the number 19, trying to chase down Dylan Freckleton and Karthik Pai. And you can hear the speed. Look, just keep an eye on the telemetry on the right-hand side, bottom right corner, folks. 160, 162 miles an hour. As there's further dramas towards the back end of the field. Martin Leisman, who qualified 19th on his only push lap in qualifying that actually counts, and he's down to 31st, but still all 36 runners and riders still here on the track at the moment. Mickey Frierson maybe trying to look for the inside line going through into turn 3, but nothing doing yet for the number 19.
No, just not enough to try and make that move, and this is what you're going to see. The car in front and the car in front of that has slipstream, so you're going to find it very difficult to make a pass. That's a little aggressive into Rauk by the likes of Freckleton, and further back, Taylor Lane looking for progress here, scrapping it about with David Rodriguez. Behind him is Bjorn Ackermann at the moment, so Taylor's dropped a couple places on the lap. So this has been difficult for the Prestanda Nomad car to really make some progress and to jump up through and gain a couple more. But this is what you find. You're not judged on your A game, you're judged on your B game and your C game. How good is your worst day?
Yeah, that's very, very true, Jake. And sometimes at this crucial point of the season, Togo Hisada at the moment is going to bring, if he keeps the way that he is at the moment, things are looking rather rosy for the final round of the championship in a week's time. But James Barry at the moment has got Pepe Fuentes in front of him, Gunnar Fritschie behind him, Jack David Spickett waiting in the weeds to see if something happens. And then, of course, Henry Morse, we saw what he did at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park just yesterday. What can he do here at the Red Bull Ring?
Well, defend against Gabri Martinez is what he has to do. What a run by Gabri, coming out through the pop art car, goes flying past the John Players special livery, which is there on the right hand, going through. So that was going to be wonderfully done. Sorry, not JPS, more rather the Players Limited, which is often run by many a Canadian out there overall when it comes to sim racing. But the pop-up car, look at that comic book car. That's one of the best liveries in sim racing, hands down.
Kind of reminds me of the car that Bruno Spengler, Timo Glock and Alex Zanardi ran, the BMW Z4 GT3 at the 24 Hours of Spa a few years back. Very much in the same ilk. But yeah, Gabri Martinez always brings a lot of colour here to the Classic Lotus Grand Prix, Sunday Grand Prix series, and it's great to see those colours. But now we're seeing Fuentes is starting to pull away from Barry in the battle for second and third, and then Fritschie and Spickett still keeping. They're very neat and tidy. It's just about being very, very precise on that entry point. Find your braking marker, brake in a straight line, then turn the car when you see that apex in front of you. But now Jack David Spickett possibly has a little bit of sense to see if he can get past Gunnar Fritschie. He was nearly under the rear diffuser of the number 1 coming out of turn 3.
Yeah, and so Jack David Spickett tries to find himself an opportunity here. He's on the back of the living legend himself, Gernot Fritschie. There was a time from about 2013 to 2018 where you couldn't beat Gernot Fritschie in this car no matter how much you tried. He's got 3 times as many wins as anybody else does in this machinery. He is, quite simply put, an iRacing Hall of Famer, if ever there was one out there. And Jack David Spickett now trying to hold himself steady. He's won a title in this car and knows how critical it will be to go and get the move done. Close now through Jochen Rindt, turn 9, out on track, descending down the hill for turn 10. You can see the rear trying to step out there from Gernot Fritschie, and the car just trying to glue itself down to the floor, because this is one of the forefather cars of ground effect, what you see in the modern Formula machinery.
Yeah, and still, Jack David Spickett gets a bit wrong coming out of turn 1 on that particular occasion through Niki Lauda corner, bumped over the sausage curbs, so the car would have literally, on the ground effects underflooring, would have bottomed out. Karthik Pai, now this is against Henry Morse, And Pye to the inside here at turn 3, gets through. Henry Morse has had a couple of off-track moments, so it hasn't helped him in the battle with the number 4 of Pye as they make their way down from turn 3, down this slight curved sort of back straightaway, down into turn 4 at Hull, and then it's through into 5 and 6. Of course, if you might remember a few years ago when a certain Valtteri Bottas with his Mercedes AMG decided to start grass cutting with the front wing. There we see the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Barry West, always on the VR. Wonderful camera shot that we get every single time that the Sunday Grand Prix Series goes racing.
Yeah, but he's really fighting here because he's got the likes of Guillermo Martin Diaz there, who is going to try and get through and has done. So Guillermo Martin Gonzalez Diaz makes the pass. Barry now looking behind at Hannah Fechner, who's trying to recover, and Jean-Francois Boscus, who's had troubles over this race. So not a great race for the F2 Championship leader out there either. So a lot of work to do, and you need a lot of commitment out there in terms of driving when you've got a motion rig that you can see right now from Barry West and VR as well. You're very reliant on what does the car feel like. Is everything in the right position? Are you going to find the gear lever every single time you make that work? A lot of drivers when it comes to the classic series out there don't run the quickest gear out there, but the most realistic.
Yeah, you've got to have that compromise between shorter gearing, which will give you better acceleration, but longer gearing, which will give you a better top speed. But here at the Red Bull rig, you need that compromise between the pair, as we see Hannah Fechner trying to go around the outside, coming out of turn number 3. This would be, funnily enough, with the likes of Boscus, West, Gonzalez Diaz and Cockerham. They're not too far apart from each other, but you could just see Hannah Fechner diving to the outside, and it's a near clash of wheels coming through out of turn 4, and Fechner's had a tank slapper. The car spins round.
It's as simple as you can't get any form of consistency out of 4. It's a corner route, which when you look at it, Alex, you think, oh, it's okay once you make the corner, but it continues on and on and on, and you just wait. It's like a book that never ends, and you're hoping for opportunity. It doesn't quite work. Aaron Blair now side by side. Hans Sommer losing out on that one. They've brought Pablo Rodriguez Hogla into play, who will want a way through. The number 13 car wants a way through on cars with lower I rating than himself, 21 and 22. Here comes the lunge for the inside at turn 3 and gets it stopped on a dime, as in front of that, Ahmad and Friesen start to exchange.
That was poetry in motion from the Spaniard in the number 13 car. You can't exactly miss that livery. It's more radioactive than green that's on the bodywork of it at the moment, but nevertheless, a great textbook overtake. If you can line it up through Niki Lauda at turn 1, you get the run through the Mutzner turn at turn 2, and then get on the brakes at the right place, right time. As I said, you've got to brake in a straight line, but Björn Ackermann trying to get through. That's on the number 11 of Diego Ortiz, and Ackermann's going to make it through. I think Rodriguez in the number 12 car in the old Camel Lotus livery is trying to go around the outside. He gets through as well, and that just is again. And who is that round the? I'm not too sure who that is. Is that Taylor Lane trying to throw it around the outside? It is.
It is, and Taylor Lane, who's been a little bit perturbed by Diego Ortiz, then loses out the place as through down the inside goes Carlos Peralta. Now it will be about David Rodriguez going side by side in front against Björn Ackermann, and the move is made. So Ackermann loses out. David Rodriguez started 34th on the grid and is now up to 18th. That's a gain of 16.
Wow, that's how you make moves up the order. As once again, we got Björn Ackermann. This is going through at turn 3. And there is the number 11 of Diego Ortiz. David Rodriguez is the cork in the bottle, so to speak, as they go down the hill once again on the run down into Hull here at turn 4. And Ackermann's going to throw it to the outside. I'm afraid that's not going to quite work there, Björn. He nearly opened the door for Diego Ortiz to nicely slip past. But the Mexican might try the opportunity here through at turn 6 and into 7. But, however, Ackermann still keeps it painted on the racing line while still trying to chase down David Rodriguez as they come through out of 8.
Yeah, and so this is where the mid-pack group continues on their scrap, and you think about, okay, well, what's this going to give me? Ackerman had to leave the door open there. So cheeky by Diego Ortiz, playing the black box relative and the spotter out there, which would have said car right into turn. So Ackerman left the steering open, and Carlos Peralta went, cookies, that's mine, straight through. I'll take the place, and now Taylor Lane will sit. So to Jason Clapper, Arteaga's there, Anton Garcia as well will be in this long train, and Jason Clapper on board trying to push forward. And top of the hill, Heike 360 ES, a massive streamer when it comes to Twitch. He's a Porsche All-Star, is Xavier Sanchez, losing the place to the Persona 3 car of Javier Mosquera, as Ricardo Ruiz now wants a move.
Yeah, and oh dear, well, Bjorn Ackerman's just received the black flag, I'm afraid. So that's not exactly how the number 35 would have wanted this race to play out, but he hasn't done himself many favours. Like you said, he had to open up the steering there, and everyone else just took it off him every single place like candy off a baby, and he had no answer for it. And that is how quickly you can lose. But Togo Hisada at the moment, new fastest lap of the race, 1:19.538, and he is now 4.3 seconds ahead of Pepe Fuentes. James Barry rounds out the top three as Ackerman pulls it into pit lane to serve what is effectively a drive-through penalty.
And we'll only have 8 incidents for the remaining 17 laps of the race, which will be a very fraught and scary prospect as Ortiz and Rodriguez continue on with their scrap in the middle of the pack. I do want to go back up because Gabriel Martinez and Kartik Pai are now starting to think about movement and positions against each other as they run down the hill. Now does Rodriguez and Ortiz. Pai thinking about the inside on Martinez, not quite having it there. Martinez holds that 6th place. But I also want to talk championship. If it stays as it is right now, it's very simple. It's going to be a case of going to Silverstone and seeing who's going to duke it out there. The classic livery of Kartik Pai, still looking for a way through on Gabriel Martinez.
Yeah, I completely agree there, Jake. It's more the case. And then you see picture-in-picture the squabble with Rodriguez, Ortiz and Peralta. Still tooth and nail over 18th, 19th, and the final position in the top 20. They're flirting with the gravel once again, coming through into turn 7 at Graz. Of course, Spielberg, not far located from the hometown of one still current Hollywood high-paid actor, ex-governor of California, Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger. So it's nice to see that the Red Bull Ring has actually named some turns through either people from Austria that have been in Formula 1 that are no longer with us, or localities in the nearby vicinity.
No, it's absolutely fantastic, and in sim racing terms, I think Gerdo Freacher should get his own corner as he's now having to defend from Jack David Spickett, the Austrian doing brilliantly. Heike coming back, Xavier Sanchez to the outside of Javi Mosquera, trying to get the move done in the top right of your screen. Jack David Spickett couldn't get the move done on your main picture, but they're going to continue on in the top right, trying to find this pass. And just as we look to it now, Mosquera holds his station, and he can try around the outside. It all funnels to one line, but Sanchez doesn't get the drive off the exit. Call it position covered out there at the moment, and at least for the time being, Javi Mosquera doesn't need any reload in terms of trying to find a way to get back by.
Yeah, I've noticed that Jack David Spickett is really having dramas in the fact that the slightest off tracks can cost you a lot of time here at the Red Bull Ring, as we still run on board with Javier Sanchez as they go through turn 10. Tighter apex from the number 3, and now he's going to get the slingshot out of the final corner. He's going to pull alongside. Here comes the side draft, and Sanchez back through for 15th as they go hard on the brakes at about the 100-meter board for turn 1.
Yeah, it's a lovely pass constructed by Xavier Sanchez. You just know that if you attack every corner and hit your mark, someone's bound to make a mistake, and that was the case there. And Jack David Spickett now looks to attack, outside line searching against Gerdo Freacher. Now looks to try and up and under him off the exit, and drive is very similar between the two. It's a short shoot run to turn 6 here, and just not enough for that big left-hander. So Jack David Spickett, knowing how much Journo's having to defend here, Journo's losing touch to James Barry and Pepe Fuentes. This is great news for Jack David Spickett.
Yeah, because it means he can battle tooth and nail with just one driver rather than having to think about, okay, who else is in front of me? If he gets past Gunnar Fritsch, then he'll have a clear run at James Barry. But we are past the halfway point. We're now on lap 14 out of 27 here, Jake. There's still plenty of time to go in this race. You might, well, I say that, but we know that with lap times at around about a 1 minute 19 to 1 minute 21 on average, these laps will fly by at the moment, and Hisada is still comfortably extending that lead. Last time around, he was about a quarter of a second quicker than Pepe Fuentes. James Barry is he's trying to close in on Fuentes. The gap is about 5 to 6 tenths of a second. But yeah, I think the thing is that Spickett needs to try and get past Fritsch very, very quickly if he wants to try and get into the top 3 by the end of the race.
It's a case of now is the moment. You don't really have that much time to sit back and wait, and everyone's been pushing so hard over the first half of this race that there is legitimately no margin for error, and Journo Fritsch knows this all too well. Here's a look at Carlos Peralta. This looks like turn. Oh! Runs straight up the back, makes contact, and then has to, takes a tap again, trying to avoid that. I think that may have been David Rodriguez, who had the small tap going through, maybe even Adrian Anton Garcia, but that is not what you want to be effectively a sitting duck at turn 1, because it's a blind crest over the top because of the Armco for the pit entry. Yeah,
I mean, David Rodriguez was very, very lucky not to be even more broadsided. I mean, okay, yeah. Great cat-like reflexes, but it was just about enough to keep him out of harm's way, and he still holds on to 17th place. He's ahead of Diego Ortiz, Jason Clapp and Ricardo Ruiz round out the top 20, so there's still a lot of battles. I mean, Ahmad Blair and Joglar, they're battling tooth and nail. Look, this could at very one moment or another be 3 wide as they go through into turn 3, and now there is the number 13 of Joglar trying to get into the slipstream of the number 22 of Aaron Blair. Blair's going to have the run down the hill into turn 4, might have the inside line. He's going to go late on the brakes. He's going to dive to the inside. It's wheel to wheel, millimetres apart, and Blair is just edging ahead, but he might not get the inside line for the next corner, not quite, but he's going to throw it round the outside. Coming out of turn 7 at Graz. That's brave.
It's brave, but then you've got the inside for the next 4 right-handers, and it works. Shadi Ahmad gets pushed out, and because he's pushed out then through turn 8, thank you, says Pablo Rodriguez Hogla, who moves on through and says, thank you, that's mine. So moves on up to 12th place with that pass, and it's lucky for some, but not Shadi Ahmad, who's now -5 for the day, down in 13th position after all of that exchange. The lead at the moment, 5.3 seconds here for Togo Hisada over Pepe Fuentes, but Shadi Ahmad, who's representing the DR Congo, as I like to say it, Dr. Congo, out there, it seems like a new patient needed, and it's Shadi Ahmad who watches as Pablo Rodriguez thinks of the inside. Aaron Blair has it covered and just gets it slowed up on the brakes.
I have to say, Pablo Rodriguez being behind Aaron Blair, that close going into turn 3 under braking. Masterful control there from the number 13, but Shadi Ahmad is still keeping with them. And look, they are closing in. Mickey Frierson, Dylan Freckleton, they're just up ahead as we go back to this battle for 17th. Diego Ortiz is nearly 3 wide as Jason Clapper was looking to the inside. Couldn't get through. Ortiz to the inside, Rodriguez to the outside. Where's Jason Clapper going to filter into all of this as they go down the hill again from turn 4? Now into 5 and into 6. It's close, but Ortiz is being muscled out of the way by David Rodriguez in the number 12. Great battling between this trio.
And there's the onboard then from Jason Clapper, who looks for any angle right now. And big move over to the inside. Diego Ortiz is not going to take this sitting down and takes full command of turn 9. Jochen Rindt at turn 10, round the outside, goes the hold. Now they'll go 3 wide on the straight. Clearance is there for Rodriguez. Clapper now has the inside up for Nicky Lauda. Turn number 1, up the hill, on the brakes. Can he get the move? Oh, you betcha. That's all about patience by Jason Clapper and David Rodriguez knowing when and where is the right time to strike.
That was beautiful from Jason Clapper, and let's not forget he started from the back end of the field, folks, just like he did in the Grand Prix Masters yesterday at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. He was scything his way through the field, and we're actually seeing that here today once again, but that's halfway through the field effectively for Jason Clapper, and now he's got to try and find a way past David Rodriguez. Meantime, Mickey Frierson running in the livery that we've come very accustomed to at the Sunday Grand Prix Series in that good old Nissan R390 GT1 layout on that number 19, which always looks glorious, but he's trying to close in on Dylan Freckleton, but Aaron Blair and Pablo Rodriguez Joglar are closing in, so this is more than becoming a two-way battle for ninth. This could be ending up being a quintet of cars going for that position as we've got 10 to go.
We've got Bjorn Ackermann down in pit lane, and that will be a retirement, I'm sure, at this point for him. So as decided, it's been a tough day, and it was down in the final corner where that's happened. It's gone wrong. James Barry, though, I really like what he's done this race, and this is the reason why. He could go and attack Pepe Fuentes. He's probably waiting for the end of the race. But if he's thinking long-term about the championship, third place more than gets the job done. So I think he's just trying to prioritise. I've got good pace, not amazing pace, and I'm keeping myself at level with a very quick driver, and I'm not risking the car by doing this.
I think it's just about controlling the situation at hand. He knows that Togo's like literally rocketed away. He's 6.3 seconds up the road. He knows that he's got himself in a very, very good position at the moment in terms of the championship. Okay, yes, Togo's going to close the gap going into the final round. But if he can keep it in P3, just cross the T's, dot the I's, and just make sure that he doesn't make any mistakes. But if he catches Pepe Fuentes, if Fuentes makes a mistake, that's going to put Barry in an even better position for the finale.
It certainly will do, and James Barry knows that every point he can save is massive. This is Bjorn Ackermann's issue out there. You can see just completely loops it around and catches Jean-Francois Boscus there in the process, and that's going to be another 4 that's put on the board, and Ackermann would be skirting very close to disqualification, and as such pulls it to one side and says that is day done as far as that is concerned. Martin Reisman is 1 lap down. The other retirees, Hannah Fechner and Carlos Peralta, being those at the moment. James Barry, though, still trying to figure out with 9 laps to go what to do. Jason Clapper, he's not done. Now looking to attack through against David Rodriguez. The 2 started 34th and 35th. And hello, Diego Ortiz. Never one to shy away from a battle. He's back to the inside here. Rodriguez is blocked in the outside. He had nowhere to go. And Ortiz, that is a very smart pass.
Yeah, it's like Clapper and Ortiz decided to do the pit box maneuver on David Rodriguez, and Rodriguez was powerless to do anything about it, and still we're seeing these absolutely mighty laps put in by Togo Hisada, another new fastest lap of the race, but that's instantly been bettered by the man in 5th. Jack David Spickett, new fastest lap of a 1:19.279. But again, I've just got this sort of feeling here, Jake, that James Barry is catching, you know, corner by corner, but it's not too much of a catch up to Pepe Fuentes. He's just playing, as you rightly said, the smart game on trying to go in with an air of confidence into that finale, and it's just focusing on the here and now. Forget about next week. This is where the mind has to be truly focused, and you've got to have those racing horse blinkers on and concentrate on the car in front, stay in the wheel tracks, and don't try and do anything silly.
You try again. Gabriel Martinez. Oh, you can see there the oscillation over the inside curb. Had to really scramble over that anti-cut curb that's on the outside, which so often costs many a driver. Kartik Pai picks up 1 for free because of that mistake. And turn 1, because of that sausage curb on the outside, it's so easy just to tag the tyre on the outside, try and put your right foot down and see the car spearing off left into that barriers there on the left-hand side, those tyres that are there. David Rodriguez still trying to scrap around the outside. Oh, it's a tap, and still trying to give that room, and I think keeps the foot in and will take it with 2 tyres in the air.
God, dearie me, that was just a bit too close for comfort there for Rodriguez. Oh, black flag. So he's hit his 17x penalty limit at the moment. So drive-through penalty for him. So yeah, he's definitely got to watch his P's and Q's over the next 7 laps. But we now see the concertina effect between James Barry, who's lost time to Pepe Fuentes. The gap at one point was as low as 2.5 tenths of a second. It's now gone up by nearly 3-fold to about 6.5 to 7 tenths of a second. So Barry has just got to keep a watching brief on the 2 behind. Fritcher is closing in, so is Jack David Spickett.
But as you close in, you do hit some dirty air and turbulence, and that will make life even tougher out there for some of the very best. I would look around and see the likes of Pepe Fuentes keeping James Barry honest right now, as Taylor Lane down in 21st position, trying to go down the inside of Ricardo Ruiz, and will manage that in the top right of the screen. Adrian Anton Garcia is also there in the picture and not quite going to be in a place to make that happen, but for the moment there is a fantastic 4 from 2nd through to 5th, and James Barry now for the first time in a while with 6 to go looking behind rather than in front.
Yeah, and Gunnar Fritsch has really got to see if he can put a move up the inside of James Barry, because that'll help Togo Hisada no end and still keep the number 2 in true fighting spirit ready for next week. But of course now he's just having a wonderful Sunday afternoon drive in the land of the Steiermark here in Austria is Togo Hisada. So he could just concentrate on bringing that car home, getting the maximum haul of points in this race. But you can see that Gunnar Fritsch, the back end swept out to the right hand side coming through turn 7 at Graz, then heading into 8, nearly a little bit skittish over the gravel with the right side tyres. But this is where we're now again seeing that pendulum swing here, where James Barry is closing in on Pepe Fuentes. But as you rightly said, once you get to a certain point to the car in front, like Gunnar Fritsch is going to experience now, that dirty air is going to stop you from really trying to see if you can put that car around the outside or on the inside. Meantime, replay between Gabri Martinez and Karthik Pai, and that is the battle for P6. So Martinez goes deep into turn 4, and Karthik Pai able to get the cross back and retakes it.
Look at Journo, moves over to the inside. There's a big difference in top speed, about 10 kilometres an hour on the straight. Journo Fritsch throws it in. James Barry holds on the outside, and now they will almost interlock wheels, heading themselves over towards the next left at turn 6. James Barry throws it back down on the inside and says, I hold for now, but he's got no slipstream to work with. Fritsch breaks it up, but critically wants that podium.
I think there's also a sniff of a window of opportunity here for Jack David Spickett, because he has been ever so patient, seeing the 2 in front battling away tooth and nail as we've got 4 to go. Togo Hisada another new fastest lap. The race's lead now 7.8 seconds. So I think Fritsch, it's only going to be not a case of if, it's a case of when does he pull that trigger and finally break the deadlock between himself and James Barry. And then what can Jack David Spickett throw into the party pinata at the same time? Because all 3 of these drivers are as capable as one another. Through into turn 3, and here a better run out of the corner by Jack David Spickett. So he's closing in on Gunnar Fritsch, who in turn is closing in on Barry. Spickett's going to pick up a double toe. He decides to slot in behind the number 1 car as they go down through. Spickett's got room, but can he take advantage of it? Not quite the traction he needed out of the corner.
No, that was the case of Gernot Fritsch having to open up the steering in the middle of the corner because it was a stronger braking effort by James Barry, which meant that he was a lot slower in the middle of the corner than what Gernot was expecting. That opened the door on the inside for JDS, who couldn't quite find the opportunity. There is certainly a difference in terms of downforce levels between James Barry and Gernot Fritsch, and I think that's really playing dividends into how this battle is going to sort itself out to the end, because those final two corners, James Barry's got a rocket ship. The issue is, it's these three long straights to turn 1, to turn 3, to turn 4, where he just does not have the nitrogen needed.
Yeah, I think as we said, we discussed earlier on about you know, aerodynamics and obviously this being a very, very fast lap, you want to have that compromise, and James Barry has compromised downforce for speed, or overall top speed, as again we go through turn 3. Can Fritsch get the power down early? Not quite, but he really had a good run towards Barry as we go again down the hill into turn 4. Fritsch looking one way, now he's looking to the right-hand side into turn 4. Barry closes off the door. Spickett this time a little bit better through the apex at turn 4 at Hull, but he's going to be on the outside, going through into 5 and 6, and now he has to wait once again.
Well, this is the issue you start seeing from Jack David Spickett. The moment he attacked, Gernot's got to defend, and they allow James Barry the argument now of saying, well, I can run away and build my gap 0.6 of a second. That now becomes on the timing tower on the left-hand side. So it's really tough in terms of how you go about your business and say, do I get my podium? Do I sit down and say, this is what I'm all about? Because Gernot has been throwing a very lovely race together, and in Jack's interest, he needs to pick them off. One this lap, one the next.
Yeah, and with 2 to go,
Ooh.
well, someone's lost a Oh, now who's got off?
Boldu.
Oh, dearie me, that is rear wing, 3 wheels on that wagon, and that is not exactly what Geraint Boldu wanted in the number 28, so that means he's out with just a couple of laps to go. But still, this race between these 3 here, this is where all the attention is being gathered, because James Barry at the moment is holding off the advances of Gernot Fritsch and Jack David Spickett. We're going to have a replay as Gerard goes through out of turn 1, and it's that sausage curb, and it's going to unsettle the back of the car. Bang! Right, left-hand side into the barrier, makes a complete destructive mess of his number 28.
That is about as egregious of a massive hit as you are going to get, as Togo Hesada will take the white flag as waved by Barney the flagman here on iRacing. 3rd, 4th and 5th still to be decided, but Togo has driven an absolutely faultless and flawless race right when he is needed to, after back-to-back retirements. One last week, which involved James Barry and Gernot Fritsch. Togo Hesada needed a result like this to bring himself back into the party, but it's all about what's going on behind him for 3rd, for 4th, for 5th, because it's Fritsch on the defence now, because look at this, into the grass, trying to find a move, tries Jack David Spickett, that won't work, and ultimately James Barry is being given a huge amount of reprieve because Gernot is so defensive. Here comes Spickett again, looking for the chance now, heading towards turn 4 at Ralph, round the outside, it's going to have to be. Gernot staves him off with a bit of local knowledge, but now it's drive to turn 6. Will he get enough drive? Yes! Jack David Spickett's now going to try and throw it down the inside. These 2 left-handers are critical. Can he pinch to the outside? Gernot having to take the rumble strip to try and go around and keep his place, but no! Jack David Spickett just gives himself room. Togo Hesada will take the win, and in the words of Joe Buck, we will see you on Sunday. Title is still alive.
But still, Gernot Fritsch has got back through on Jack David Spickett. Pepe Fuentes is going to pick up 2nd. James Barry will be 3rd. And across the line, it's Gernot Fritsch pipping Jack David Spickett by less than 2 tenths. And we still got this battle here. This is for 11th place. And it's between, well, it's actually 10th. Pablo Rodriguez Joglar will round out the top 10 ahead of Aaron Blair. Dylan Freckleton ends up 12th at the finish, ahead of Shady Ahmad and Xavier Sanchez. We've still got battles up and down the order Adrian Arton Garcia, Ricardo Ruiz, Diego Ortiz, Diego Tineo, Daniel Gallis, and Diego Ortiz trying to get through. It's gonna be side by side, and that is Ortiz through on Ruiz through at turn 9.
Yeah, that was all about turn 7 going wrong there. Gratz corner for Ricardo Ruiz. He caught a massive tank slapper and will drop the couple places. Barry West will make a good effort of it. Kurt Clapper won't find a way through, has to serve the slowdown or pick up 40 seconds, and he won't serve it in time, so he'll get an extra 40 seconds, but being the last car on the leading lap, that won't matter at all. He'll be classified at 2 minutes down with post-race penalties. There's your winner, Togo Hisada, and when he needed it the most, he's gone and got what he has absolutely claimed is his, racing at what would be around now about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning at Japanese time, and burn it down. Why don't you? Because that was as perfect as a race can be. What a result for Togo Hisada, and what a winning margin. You don't often see winning margins like these in races like these, but it is 10.1 seconds at the line that he's able to achieve as he puts on the 11Zs and the Doe's in for full display. Pepe Fuentes will be classified then in second position when we do switch ourselves over to the results screen, which we will do now at this moment. James Barry will be the final finisher on the podium, meaning the title will still be very firmly in the hands of James Barry at the moment in his debut season, but a maiden title will have to wait till Silverstone on his home soil. Gernot Friescher will finish fourth with JDS Jack David Spickett in fifth place. You've then got Kartik Pai, who had a very nice race into sixth ahead of Gabriel Martinez in seventh. Henry Morse would finish off in eighth, with Mickey Friesen ninth, and a gain of 8 for Pablo Rodriguez Hogla, who would round out your top 10.
Yep, and then turning the page, Aaron Blair ending up 11th at the flag, just ahead of Dylan Freckleton, who was running in the top 10 for the majority of this race, finishing ahead of Shidi Ahmad, Xavier Sanchez, and Hans Sommer rounding out the top 15. Javier Mosquera, Jason Clapper from the back end of the field to the mid-pack, 17th. Was the final finishing position of the number 20, finishing ahead of David Rodriguez, Pablo Artiega, and Taylor Lane, making it up to 20th at the flag.
Yeah, so a gain of 8 for Taylor. Guillermo Martin Gonzalez Diaz would gain 11 in the race to finish 21st, with Adrian Anton Garcia in 22nd. Diego Ortiz on the last lap would get by Ricardo Ruiz, as Diego Tineo would finish off in 25th. Daniel Gallis, Matthew Cochran, Barry West, and Kurt Clapper would all be finishers on the lead lap. Kurt Clapper picking up the penalty late on, with the final finisher or in the top 30 being Mauro Micheletti 1 lap down. Would also include over the page your F2 Championship leader Jean-Francois Boscus, who picked up 17 instant points today. Martin Reisman would be 32nd, as Gerard Boldu would be the first of the retirees, joining Björn Ackermann, Carlos Peralta, and Hannah Fechner as retirees from racing action today. We are going to take the chance, though, to talk with one very important driver, Togo Hisada, picking up the win today. Togo, quite simply put, the perfect race for you. Unchallenged at the start, unchallenged in the middle, unchallenged at the end, and winning by 10 seconds. You could not have had a more perfect race here today.
Yes, the Gano had a mistake on I think lap 2 or something like that in very early stages, and then I fortunately I landing away from the slipstream range, draft range. So yeah, that's it, and then just give my pace under the concentrate till the end.
You gave your all. You know how important it is to pick up a win, especially when you consider that it keeps your championship hopes alive. It's been a very tough couple of weeks for you regarding that front. But what does this mean to you now, finding a little bit of form right when you need it, knowing that you've got Silverstone on the horizon?
Yeah, but the James is very fast guy, and he's very smart. So I'm trying to not thinking about the championship in this these days, and just focus to race, and I hope to take a picture again in the next week.
So let's just give a little bit of context for everybody as well, just before we let you go. It is probably about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning Japanese time at this point. You've been certainly putting in all of the time and all of the effort when it comes to this series. What makes you want to get up at a time like this in the morning, knowing it's Monday morning that you're going to be into and the work week starts again? What drives you to do this series?
Just I like, these old classic cars. I like these smell of gasoline and slide and very fat tires, and then I love this atmosphere about the 70s, 60s, the old classic car. Even not born at the time, but I love that atmosphere, and I really want to feel the car, feel the mood with this community. These classic communities is very fair, and provides a lot of fun racing and fun series. So that's all.
Well, it's not a case of waking him up when September ends. When it begins for Togo Hisada, it begins with a win. A wonderful result for him as he gets it sorted. Alex Goldschmidt has taken the walk down the virtual paddock. He stood by with the championship leader, James Barry.
Well, James, a very, very tough fight here at the Red Bull Ring, most notably between yourself, Pepe Gurno, and Jack David. It was all about getting the car across the line and bringing a good haul of points home, wasn't
it? Yeah, it was. Hi, guys. I was just listening to Togo's interview on the broadcast, and it was funny. He says he wasn't thinking about the championship, just trying to get the victory. In contrast, I was pretty much only thinking about the championship in that race because I saw Togo streaking off into the distance, and I knew it was just going to be consolidation for me. Just trying to not let him outscore me too much, because both in the community standings that you guys show and in the official standings, I have the advantage, but I just need to kind of not let him beat me by too much. So fair play to Togo, just doing an amazing job. I just couldn't do the job in qualifying really that I kind of maybe should have. Just get a bit too nervous, especially with the track limits here. They're so brutal. But yeah, super fun race with Pepe and Gernot and Jack.
I mean, there were points during the race when we were thinking, oh, hang on, is it going to go 3 wide, which it can do here at the Red Bull Ring. But of course, now the focus is very much on the home of British Motorsport at Silverstone in just 7 days' time. Of course, you've got to just basically get that car across the line with no real big deficit to Togo, and you'll have done the job. But it's all about getting yourself ready for that final epic battle in Northamptonshire, isn't it?
Yeah, realistically, yeah. Again, for both the two championships are a bit different, the officials and the community one, but in both I'm in a good place. Maybe I'll still need to get a good result. I don't know. I'll have a look at the standings. But either way, yeah, just at the same time, I just want to have fun on these broadcasts and try and challenge Togo because, I might win the championship, but he's won, I think, 5-6 races this season, and I've only won 2, so it would be nice to be able to challenge him next week.
Well, as they say, James, consistency does win you a championship, but well done on hanging on to that final step of the rostrum here this week at the Red Bull Ring, and we'll see you in 7 days' time at the season finale at Silverstone.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Thanks a lot. See you.
So there you have it there. James Barry very much looking at the championship. Alain Prosting his way compared to the Senna-esque style of Togo Hisada, but a championship that is still there in the making and all to play for, be it whether you're watching with us on the Global SimRacing Channel or you're with us on iRacing. There is some amazing sim racing up on the horizon, and of course, that championship comes to play 7 days from now, September 7th. 4:30 UTC, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Mark it in your calendar because the home of Formula Racing will decide a championship. Silverstone is the time and place, and you have got to make sure you're there to see whether it's going to be Togo Hisada or James Barry who picks up the crown of the classic Lotus Grand Prix season. From the entire team who's brought this together, look at that. I've got a camera that works and is not blurry anymore. Alex, I just want to put this into perspective. One question to you. How critical is that final round going to be? James pretty much needs a good finish. Togo needs a miracle.
Yeah, Togo's got to give it 115% at Silverstone next week, guaranteed. But it is all about, as you rightly said, James Barry doing Le Professeur. Consistency wins you a championship. If he stays in a P3 position and Togo goes all guns blazing at Silverstone and wins it, it's game over for Togo, and it's glory upon high for James Barry. But you know what, folks? You don't want to miss it. Silverstone, 7 days' time. It comes down to the final round of the season.
It certainly does. I want to thank the entire team who has brought this show over to you. From Alex Goldschmidt, from Christian Deploy, from Dougie Beard. This has been a Genesis Extreme production. There is so much amazing racing, and this championship is going to go all the way down to the wire. You never quite know with sim racing championships how it is all going to play out. The simple story is this: Hisada hangs on, and with one pinky finger, he's still got a hope of taking the title away from a buoyant James Barry doing just what he does best, finding good, strong finishes. But with the words of Joe Buck as rang out earlier, we will see you on Sunday, because Championship Sunday awaits with us with GSRC and on iRacing, and we will be crowning a champion. We'll see you in 7 at Toaster in Northamptonshire, because it's Silverstone that decides the season.
This is iRacing.